out for a few weeks now. What's the reaction been like so far?
Yeah, it's been a super positive reaction. Lots of really nice things being said by a lot of really nice people.
That's great, and it's so well deserved because it is such a great album. And my understanding is that it was written in like a frenzied couple of weeks. So tell me about that and how that period influenced the final product.
Yeah, it was definitely an intense 2 weeks. It was the sort of longest time we'd ever been given to record a body of work, but it turned out that we sort of used every second, which kind of really added to the uh, frantic and somewhat distressed uh, themes on the album. Yeah, so it kind of helped in a weird way.
Yeah, and I think that stress theme kind of plays hand in hand with the message as well, because the message of the album touches on things like mental health, societal issues. So I think in a way, like it's, put that extra touch on it, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I like to think so for sure.
Yeah. So as we mentioned, yeah, the album does touch on some personal issues. So how do you balance sharing your story but also being relatable to your audience?
Um, I don't know. I just kind of get get my own sort of feelings out, and it's kind of I'm not really doing it with an audience in mind. I think it's kind of just putting it out there, and then you sort of tend to find that people are experiencing a lot of the same things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely does make sense. And looking at the extra tracks, one of my favorites is Oh Boy, and I love the music video because it's so fun, playful, while also having that deep message. So tell me more about that and yeah, the direction you went with that.
Yeah, that's my favorite track as well. It's yeah, I kind of like the sort of juxtaposition between the sort of joy in the music, but then it's kind of like it's a pretty, again, sort of to repeat itself, pretty sort of dramatic themes over happy kind of music, and it's kind of like that sort of word vomit that you hear in Call a Doctor as well. It's especially that outro. It's just a long sort of cathartic outpouring of feelings and emotions with no sort of kind of end goal. Um, yeah.
Yeah, so Oh Boy is obviously one of your favorites. Do you have any other particular favorites from the album?
Um, Probably Call a Doctor and Comfortable Friends, I think, are up there for me.
Yeah. And it's so great to see that the progress you guys have made because you guys started out, recording in a like garage and now you guys, are touring, you're putting out music. So tell me a bit about how your band has progressed over the time.
Yeah, so we started in the garage at mum's house, and then we kind of it would have been maybe like 2 or 3 years before we actually went to a rehearsal studio and started sort of jamming out of one of those as frequently as possible. And then we moved our shows to Brisbane, and things kind of grew out of Brisbane. And I think it was Big Sound where we met our managers, and they kind of put us in front of a lot of the right kind of people and got us overseas. And it's how we met Sub Pop and all of our agents and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it's been the last kind of year or two, especially, has been totally insane for the band in terms of touring and growth and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's been a bit freaky, but nice.
Yeah, definitely freaky, but yeah, as you said, very nice. And you mentioned earlier about like the stress coming through to the album, having that rush 2 weeks. So how does that correlate with, I guess, having busy tour schedules or recording schedules as well as your personal life?
Yeah, well, I guess the album kind of speaks a lot to those particular feelings, which I was kind of finding a lot of trouble with at that time. I think I'm coping with it a lot better now, but there's kind of like a lag between getting picked up by these people and learning how to sort of cope with it, which is kind of like something I've only very recently learned to deal with. Yeah, so they kind of go hand in hand, that sort of franticness of the album and how I was feeling in relation to. all of that stuff at the time. Yeah.
And in saying that you've recently learned to cope with it, would you have any advice for any like new and up and coming artists that are maybe in the same boat as you?
Um, yeah, I guess on tour, my kind of thing is to it's very important to focus on the day to day. I try not to look too far into the future because that can become overwhelming. And yeah, trying to maintain some kind of routine, whether that be sort of like healthy routines like journaling or exercising or talking with someone you trust every few days sort of thing, because it's hard to well, I find it kind of hard to sort of process on the road, emotionally process and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, just putting a bit of extra effort into those kinds of things.
Yeah, and I think that's great advice too, because it can be like very hectic and stressful and just hard to make time for yourself as well while you're always on the go.
Definitely, yeah.
So obviously it sounds like that's something you'll implement because you've got that upcoming tour with Royal Otis and you've also recently had your own tour. So from your own experience with your tour, is there anything you'll do differently with the upcoming tours?
The very last tour we just did in America was probably the best I've ever toured. So I think I will kind of try to hang on to those sort of things that I was just telling you now, and I try to be a bit more consistent with it all in the next few. You know.
Yeah. And thinking about the actual sound of the album, I love like the grungy rock type sound. So, how does that genre influence the messages that you're trying to get out there in your music?
Um, I don't know. I guess it's just all that we really know to play. So yeah, that's just kind of what the music that backs it. Yeah, I don't know. We've never done it any other way.
Yeah, and in saying that, is there any particular like bands, artists, albums that you draw inspiration from?
Um, I don't know. I guess kind of maybe like LCD-ish, kind of in the way that the theatrics of it all. I would say the Black Country New Roads sophomore album was a huge inspiration. I really enjoyed that and the kind of theatrics and dramatics of it. Yeah,
Yeah. And I think the dramatics of it plays into your music too, because it is, as you said, like such deep, meaningful lyrics, but just having that fun side of it makes it relatable and gives that fun element to, such dark topics that are probably hard for you sometimes to talk about and write about as well.
yeah, definitely. It definitely makes it easier to approach.
Yeah. And in saying that, like, because obviously there's people that listen to your music that might also know you in your everyday life, how do you balance that vulnerability of people that know you on a deeper level than your fans?
Ooh, I guess I just don't think about it, and then I release it, and then I'm like, okay, there you go. There's very deep inside knowledge about my life. Yeah, I don't really think about it, I
Yeah.
guess.
And that makes sense too. I guess sometimes it'd be easier not to think about it, especially if you're writing music that's, true to you and yourself.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So in saying that, like what I take away from your music is people can listen to it, they can relate to it while also having a bit of fun with it. But what are the main messages that you hope people take away from this album?
Um, I'm not sure. I guess just that like everybody has tough times. That's not really like um an idea that's this like not you're not the only one going through it. I guess is the kind of message that I'm trying to spread. And that you can find the power within yourself to be happy, maybe, hopefully.
Yeah, I think that's a great message because that's the beauty of music. It brings people together, like people from all different aspects of life, different cultures, different backgrounds, and connect us over like that shared experience of life.
Definitely, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got you're touring between like July and September. And then are you taking a break after that, or what do you have planned for the rest of the year?
Uh, then we're touring more. So we, hold on, I'm getting out my calendar. So yeah, so we're in Europe in like 3 weeks, and then we do Australia again in August, and then we're back in Europe late August, September, and then we're back in Australia in October, or maybe that's not announced yet, and then maybe something for the end of the year as well. It's kind of like, I think we're pretty much touring till the end of the year. There's sort of like a few weeks between.
It sounds like a hectic schedule, but obviously, yeah, very fun and it's something that you love and you're passionate about. So how are you preparing for all these upcoming dates?
Lots of sleeping and swimming. I'm living by the beach at the moment, so that's really nice. The weather's been gorgeous. So yeah, just kind of try my best to relax and see friends and catch up with all those kinds of people and family and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I was gonna ask if you have much time to explore as well, or will it be very on the go with like rehearsals, sound checks, actually performing?
Yeah, no real time to explore. We had a few days in between in America, which was really nice. But yeah, usually you're just in a city for 12 hours. Then you got to move on, which is a bit sad.
Yeah, so definitely make sure you do that sleeping. It sounds like you're gonna need it with that schedule.
For sure, for sure.
So that's pretty much all my questions. Did you have any other comments you want to add about this particular album or the upcoming tour dates that you want people to know?
No, I think I've said it all. Nothing springing to mind.
Oh, well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, and all the best for the tour and whatever your future plans are as well.
Thanks so much, appreciate
All
it.
right.